Okay.
I'm George Brummer. Crystal's grandfather was born in Golden Valley. My parents come from Germany. I was the sixth one in the family. And then Lenny came along after. He's younger than me.
So who was the first one?
Kate.
Kate is the first one?
She was born in Germany.
What year was she born? Do you remember?
I can't tell you.
Can't tell me.
Now lucky I remember when I was born. I was 1922.
Okay, so it was Kate, and then who was it?
Kate, and then Mike, and then Joe. Now I'm not sure if Joe or Helen, which one come next. But it was, and then Afra, and then me, then Lenny. And we lived in Golden Valley. My dad had a farm there. He didn't like farming, but he had to farm. And when he first come to this country, he worked in a foundry in Madison, Wisconsin. And he'd unload a small carload of coal every night. They weren't cars like they have now, but I suppose they probably had 100 ton. He had to unload one of them every night. Then in the daytime, he always did a lot of fishing. And I could never figure out why he was doing so much. When they tell me about it, I couldn't figure out he was no fisherman, why he'd be fishing. But today I understand it. He was doing that to feed the family. He didn't have no money. And then they came to Golden Valley and bought a little farm there. And he raised hogs, had a couple cows, a team of horses. And he worked on the road. When they built Highway 100, he worked on that with the team. He got $1 an hour, and he was allowed to work 30 hours a week. And for him and the horses. Then at night, sometimes he would be a watchman for the tool shed. And he worked there till that was completed. And then we used to plow a lot of gardens, dig a lot of basements. Down Tyrol Hills, I mean, in Golden Valley, we used to plow basements for new homes. It would take us 2 days to dig them, and we got $25. Things were tough, but we survived. We heated the house with wood, so we always had a lot of wood to carry in. And I went to school in Meadowbrook School in Golden Valley. I went there for 2 years. I was afraid to talk because they talked German at home. I didn't know what I was. Kids would laugh when I talked German and they were English. I went to school 2 years. Then I went to St. Joe's Church of North Minneapolis to school. And I was there for the balance of the 8 years. Graduated from there. And I started to go to high school, but I didn't like it. I quit. And started dickering and working out. And I used to make 40 cents an hour. I felt pretty rich.
Where were you working at?
On construction.
Oh, construction?
Yeah.
The painting?
Helping a fellow build a house. Yeah. Then I asked him for a nickel raise and he let me go. He wouldn't pay it. He said he couldn't. But anyway, then I met a fellow that owned a factory in Minneapolis, making puffed wheat. I made puffed wheat. I must have started there when I was about 17. I worked there a couple of years, making puffed wheat. It would be 130 degrees in there where we worked. And then, after a little, I met Marilyn. And when I was 19, I got married. She was 17 and I got 19. We got married.
So how did you guys meet?
Huh?
How did you meet?
A friend of hers introduced us. Yeah, a friend of hers introduced us, and we met, and we got going together. We went together 2 years before we got married. And so I was just 17 and she was 15 when we started going together. And got married, and then we worked. I worked on different places. I worked on making puffed wheat for 1 year, and then they kind of couldn't. They didn't have enough work there, so I started looking for jobs. I got a job on a farm. I worked from 4 in the morning till 7 in the evening, and Marilyn, my wife, worked from. It cooked for 6 to 8 men, took care of the bunkhouse and everything, and we got a house to live in and $90 a month to live on. They were supposed to furnish the food, which was terrible. We wouldn't use it, so they had to buy better stuff. And I worked there a while. Then George was born. Jim was born, yeah, a year after we were married. Then George was born, and when Marilyn came home from the hospital, the lady at the farm came, and she walked down the basement. She seen one spider web over the stairway, and raised heck with her. I come in the house, and she was crying. And I said, I'll take care of it. So I went up to their house. I sat there for 45 minutes. They were come in to talk to me. And when she come in, she said, you shouldn't come up here when you're mad like that. And I said, you haven't seen me mad yet. And I told them, I said that they should find somebody else to do the work, that I was going to leave. Well, you can't leave right now. I said, no, I'm going to give you 30 days, but I'm leaving. So when we left there 30 days later, 2 of the hired help left with us. They were fed up with it too. So then I worked on a couple other little farms, just terrible jobs. And finally talked my brother Mike into signing a $1,500 note for me and renting a farm. He paid the rent on the farm if I would haul a load of milk for him every day. So I did. And I took the $1,500 and I bought myself 10 cows and a team of horses and a harness and an old wagon so I could clean my barn. That's all I had. And every month I'd give the banker $50 and I'd borrow it right back again to buy another cow so I could make enough money to pay my bills. And he was real good to me. Well, then we farmed there for 6 years. We did pretty fair. Anyway, the banker didn't want me to leave Lakeville. He wanted me to stay, and I told him I didn't. They were going to do something different with the farm, and he said, well, find a different place. And I said, I don't have any money. And he said, you don't need any. Find a farm, I'll buy it for you. I said, no, it don't work like that. I said, I won't do that. So I left there and I rented a place in Maple Lake. We were there 1 year. Yeah, I had a 3-year lease. We were only there 1 year. The fellow I rented it from, a real nice old guy, he wanted me to buy the farm. When you get $3,000 to pay down, I'll sell you the farm. And he wanted $18,000 for it. Well, he passed away, and he had put all his money in his son-in-law's trust, and they bought him into the bank up at Walker, Minnesota, president of the bank. And when he passed away, his son-in-law wouldn't even bury him. His brother had to pay for the funeral. So things were really, really nasty them days. But
so
then I got...
What year was that about?
What year?
Yeah, do you remember?
Oh, that would have been about 48, something like that. Then, yeah, uh, uh, I had an auction and sold everything, and there was an auction at Delano where they were selling the farm and everything, these old couple. So I went to that, and they didn't get the farm sold. So the next day I went back to talk to them, and they wanted to sell me the farm real bad. They must have took a liking to me or something. Anyway.
But you had already sold all your equipment
Yeah,
and all
everything
your
was gone.
animals?
Yeah. But anyway, I told them that's all I had was $3,000 I could pay down on it. And they said they would like to have $4,500 so they could pay cash for a house in town to live in. So we went to the land bank. The land bank gave them a mortgage on the farm. They got their $4,500 that way, and I had to make a payment every 3 months to the land bank, and then to Dry Mallas I had to pay every month. Well, we stayed there 13 years, and I had it paid for, and the park board come along and bought it from us. And I was working in the cities besides farming there. I was milking 20 cows and working in Minneapolis, a job. Anyway, I sold the farm to the park board, and I went up by Montrose and I bought 277 acres. And I went into milking cows.
In which place was that?
What year?
Which place was it in Montrose?
The Walker Farm.
The Walker Farm? Is that where my dad has now? Part of it?
No, that was where your dad is. That was the Eckleberry Farm.
Okay.
I bought that one after.
Is this
the one where Betzler is?
Okay, Betzler's farm.
Yeah,
okay.
The show place. Nice farm, nice place. We were there for about 13 years. Then I sold that. All the kids were working on their own and gone, so I thought, heck, I was going to slow up. So I sold the farm and I built a little house down in the corner of it, that brown house, to retire in. It was a big house, with high vaulted ceilings and everything, and had everything built in inside. A fireplace open on 3 sides and everything. Anyway, then Paul wanted to farm and George had 3 places, and he was going to sell everything and going to New York. So I gave him an offer on the one over here on Highway 12 on Montrose, and I finally bought that from him. And I started Paul out with registered red and white Holstein cows. And he did real well, but he got so disgusted with the government got their nose in on. They were telling you how to do everything. And he decided after a few years that he wanted to quit, so we had an auction. He had a real good sale. He had a lot of money for his cows. And he went in construction. He built a couple houses on his own, him and Gary did together. Then he went to work for Bud Grant's son-in-law. And so all he did was trim work and the fancy work. And so on the farm there, I had pigs for a while. Then I went into more Shetland ponies. We used to have about, up as high as 80 of them. Then we had the place for sale, and I sold it. I wanted to build across the road. They wouldn't give me a permit. So I annexed it to the city, the whole thing. They gave me a permit for a house. So